Shalom. All praises, all power, all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach one rule, who taught me this truth. Peace and salutation to the Akyam, the fellow laborers, the hopeful elect, pushing this truth at risk of their own lives through the four corners of the earth. And to the Akwath, listening, learning in sincerity and the truth and in silence, Shalom. This is your brother Shimon from the GMS Toronto camp here in Toronto, here with another lesson. Right, nothing too long, right? But the inspiration for this lesson comes from this past weekend at camp on Saturday. The Akyam, we typically break bread prior to the cameras going on, right? Spiritual conversation. So we're having some spiritual conversation, and I had mentioned that during the week I had what I said was I had some friends in the world that were texting me during the week with all this ninja culture, right? So I was meditating on that after I left camp. I was driving home, and I said friends in the world. They're former friends, man. Those are just acquaintances, right? Our friends are this body, right? The Akyam, the brotherhood, right? And granted, some of our former friends in the world still have access to us, relatives, you know. And then there's some of us have people that we knew in the world, we used to ride with, roll with, whatever, you know what I mean? They still have access to you. They'll send you texts every now and then, you know what I mean? But it's usually about nigger culture, right? What's going on with this? You see this, you see that, memes, whatever is viral, you know, the playoffs, right? Who you think's gonna win? That kind of shit, right? But typically is ninja culture. So yeah, I was meditating on that. I'm like, yo, you know, our friends are this body. Sirach 27 verse 9, and it reads, the birds will resort unto their like, right? Birds, right? You're not going to see vultures nesting with penguins, seagulls nesting with geese, right? The Canada geese, right? Granted, now if you throw out some breadcrumbs or whatever, and there happens to be seagulls around and Canada geese and pigeons, they're all gonna try and eat, right? But typically the stronger the species, or the more aggressive the species, is gonna scare off the other birds until he's finished eating, right? So likewise, 2/3 and us in this truth, we're not gonna mingle with 2/3, right? There's a divide, man. We're not on the same frequency. Reads here, so will truth return unto them that practice in her, right? And who's practicing in this truth? Who's practicing in truth? The elect, right? 2/3 is bugged out of their mind, and they're going to continue to stay bugged out of their mind, and they're going to continue to be carnal, right? The scriptures say the natural man. Let's get that real quick. That's in Corinthians. First Corinthians 2. And 14 it reads, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Let's look at this word natural real quick. Strong's G 5591.
Strong's G 5591. Psuchikas.
It looks like psych, right? Psychiatry, right? Psuchikas. Of or belonging to breath, having the nature and characteristics of the breath the principle of animal life which men have in common with brutes. The principle of animal life which men have in common with the brutes, right? And 2/3 of our people, they're likened unto brute beasts, governed by breath, the sensuous nature with its subjection to appetite and passion, right? And 2/3 of our people, they are in subjection to appetite and passion, right? Their lusts, right? So they're likened unto beasts. They can't control themselves, man, right? They're gonna commit adultery. They're gonna crash out, right? In the Strongs from G5590, sensitive, i.e. animate, in distinction on the one hand from G4152, which is the higher or renovated nature, and on the other from G5446, which is the lower or bestial nature, natural, sensual, right? So 2/3 of our people are in a lower and bestial nature, right? Scriptures say brute beasts. Let me see if I can get that real quick. I'll come back to this. 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. Brute beasts. Second Peter 2 and 12. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand. Salakia, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, right? You know, false prophets, you know, scoffers, right? They're natural brute beasts, right? They speak evil of the things that they understand not, right? They scoff, right? But the key word here, natural brute beasts, right? So they're allocated for the sword. They're allocated for destruction. Brute, Strong's G249. In the Greek, alagos, destitute of reason, destitute of reason, right? That's 2/3 of our people. Contrary to reason, absurd, brute, irrational, unreasonable in the Strongs, right? And that's 2/3. Irrational. Them YNs, they're irrational and they're unreasonable. You can't. There's no dialogue, Salakia. There's no dialogue. You can't reason with a 2/3. Back in 2 Corinthians 2 and 14. Salakia, 1 Corinthians 2 and 14. And it reads, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of Yahweh, right? They can't receive it. For they are foolishness unto him, right? It's foolishness. Oh, the Sky Daddy, white man wrote the Bible. You guys are you're bums, you're false prophets. Who ordained you a prophet? You're wearing fabrics. You're wearing drapes. Get your money. Where's the money at? What is this doing for the nation? That kind of shit. Where's your church? Right? What have you done? Where's your soup kitchen? Right? These are the things that the 2/3 of our people say when they encounter the prophets. Neither can he know them because they are spiritually discerned, right? They're spiritually discerned, right? So 2/3 and us in this truth, there's a divide. We can't see, they can't see what we see, but we can see what they see. Right? Because the men of the Lord are judges. Right? We can see that they're bugged out. They can't see that they're bugged out. Back in Sirach 27 and 10, 27 and 9, the birds will resort unto their like, so will truth return unto them that practice in her. As the lion lieth in wait for the prey, right? A lion will stalk its prey. It will hide and will stalk its prey. So sin for them that work iniquity, right? So sin is scripture say the devil, let me get it real quick. Seeketh whom he may devour. It's in 2 Peter 5, 1 Peter 5, Slakia. 1 Peter 5, I think it's 9. First Peter 5 and 8, be sober, be vigilant, right? Sober, right? In this truth, right? Wine's not wicked, but in moderation. But spiritually sober, spiritually discerned. You're not consumed. You're not going to consume with the lusts of this wicked temporal world, right? You're sober. You're spiritually sharp. Be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, right? Devil meaning deceiver, right? As a roaring lion walketh about, seeking whom he may devour, right? He's stalking his prey, right? Seeking whom he may devour, right? You're not locked into the scripture. And listen, we're all in the flesh. We're not locked into these scriptures, right? And part of that entails doing this work, right? Breaking bread with the Akyam, right? Reading, praying, fasting, right? If we're not locked into into this truth, right? It becomes if we're not sober, sharp, it becomes easy for Shaitan to jump on you, man, to tempt, to have you going off, right? But the 2/3 are bugged out. They don't have this knowledge, this wisdom, this understanding. They don't know nothing about prayer. They're not throwing up righteous sacrifices, so they're free for the taking, right? Back in Sirach 27 and 9, 27 and 10. As the lion lieth in wait for the prey, so sin for them that work iniquity, sin upon sin, right? And that's 2/3 of our people. The discourse of a godly man is always with wisdom, right? Discourse, right? The thought, reasoning. Let's get that word, discourse. In the R9 etymology, late 14th century, process of understanding, reasoning, thought, right? To run about, run to and fro, hasten in, from Latin, late Latin, to go over a subject, right? To go over a subject, speak at length of, discourse, right? To go over a subject. So us in this truth, right? Spiritual conversation, right? When we're breaking bread with one another, right? We'll be talking about things and scriptures are coming out. And that's just us having, us in the body, us the brothers, that's just us having conversation about whatever it may be, man. It could be something that's taking place in the world, but scriptures are coming out, right? The discourse of a godly man, right? The reasoning, the going over a subject is always with wisdom, this truth. But a fool changes as the moon, right? A fool don't know if he's coming or going. A fool flip-flopping. Today he's this, today he identifies as that. Tomorrow he identifies as this, that, whatever. They're bugged out. Right, the moon changes, has cycles, week to week, day to day. It increases or decreases in size. It waxes and it wanes. Verse 12: if thou be among the indiscreet, observe the time. Right, if you're around 2/3, right, you're in your mind, you're like, I gotta get out of here, man. I can't be around these people. Right, I can't be around. Listen. The men of the Lord are not hanging out with 2/3. You'll see 2/3 in passing. You have family members that are 2/3, right? You'll see them in passing. They're always on, you don't come around no more. We don't see you no more. You never answer your phone. You don't respond to texts. That's real shit, right? We're observing. We don't want to be around 2/3 of our people, man. Even family members who are 2/3. Listen, man. Personal testimony. Family members be asking me, yo, you don't answer, you don't this. Nah, I don't. And that's the truth. I don't. You know what I mean? Sirach 37:12. Sirach 27:12. Salakia. If thou be among the in the street, observe the time, but be continually among men of understanding. Right? Continually among men of understanding. That's the Akim, the brothers. Right? That's who we around. That's who we break bread with. Right? That's who we have conversation with. Now, granted, you got to do business in this world, this Greco-Roman, wicked, evil, temporal world. So we're navigating through heathens, 2/3 of our people, but we're in and we're out. There's no long, long, heavy dialogue. That's not happening. Verse 13, the discourse of fools is irksome, right? The thought, the going over a subject, the reasoning of fools is irksome, right? You're around 2/3. They're having bugged out conversations. They're trying to have bugged out dialogue with you, and you like, man, these people, you want to leave. It really bothers you, right? And their sport is the wantonness of sin, right? Their sport, their fun. They talking about adultery at work. Pop this man's wife, right? That's their sport, right? Oh, last night I popped this man's wife. That's what they talk about. Thinking of getting this new tattoo. What do you think, man? That's irksome and it's bothersome, right? That's their sport, right? So we don't want to be around 2/3, man. Right? 2/3. They're not our friends. All right, let's close. Mark. When I was meditating on it, I was thinking about this, man. Like what Yahweh Shai said. Mark 3:31, and it reads, there came then his brethren. Let me see. Mark 3. Mark 3:31. There came then his brethren and his mother, and standing without, sent unto him, calling him. Right? Yahushai's brothers and his mother. Right? Told the disciples they were looking for Yahushai. Right? And the multitude sat about him, and they said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren without seek for thee. Right? Yeah, your mom and your brother are outside looking for you, Yahushai. And he answered them, saying, right, this red letter, this was Yahushai's answer, who is my mother or my brethren? And he looked round about on them which sat about him, and said, behold, my mother and my brethren. Right? So Yahushai is saying, look, my disciples here, this is my mother, this is my brethren, right? This is my family, right? Verse 35, for whosoever shall do the will of Yahweh, Bashim El Shai, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother, right? So those doing the will of Yahweh Bashim El Shai, right? So listen, 2/3 are not doing the will of Yahweh Bashim El Shai. They don't believe. They're calling on Jebus. They're still Rastafarians. They're Buddhists. They're Kemetology. They're into Wiccan. They're into witchcraft. They're wearing guard rings. They're committing adultery. Those are all things that are contrary to Yahweh Bashim El Shai, right? The brotherhood, we all have a fear of Yahweh Bashim El Shai. We're all rehearsing the righteous acts, right? We're all conscious of going off. What's that scripture? In the day of sinning, it's in the Apocrypha. We're all conscious of going off. The Spirit checks us in our mind. Right, here it is. Sirach 18:27. And it reads, a wise man will fear in everything, right? And who are the wise? The elect. The body of believers, they fear. right? A wise man will fear in everything, and in the day of sinning he will beware of offense, right? Because you have this knowledge, this wisdom, this truth, this understanding. You're conscious. The spirit gonna check you in your mind. The spirit gonna be like, irks, breaks, stop. Real talk, right? The spirit will in your mind breaks, stop. You know that's you're about to go off, right? And you'll check yourself. That's the spirit checking you, right? He will beware of offense, right? He's going to be aware. I might be going off here. I better stop. You know what I mean? But a fool will not observe the time, right? Natural brute beasts are going to continue being brute beasts, man. They don't care, right? But yeah, that's it on that, man. Right? Mark 3:35. For whosoever shall do the will of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the same is my brother and my sister and mother, right? Those doing the will of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. These are our brothers and sisters and mother, right? Yeah, we still have, mothers and fathers who are outside the temple, right? We still doesn't mean I'm not gonna acknowledge anything you say, mom, pops, whatever. No, we still, scripture say, honor thy father and thy mother, right? We're still gonna, you know what I mean? Honor our parents, right? But we know they're outside the temple. We'll see them on the other side. So with that, Kal Allah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach one rule well. Shalom to the elect.